Welcome to the Teach Joyfully podcast, where we talk about all things elementary teaching with some mom stuff thrown in. I'm Lisa Burns, a teacher success coach, veteran elementary teacher, and mom of 5. I'll be your host. Thanks for joining me today. So I have a question for you today. Do you do morning meetings? Is that something that's important to you, or is it something that you've cut from your schedule? I'm here to tell you that I think morning meetings are really important, even in those days, weeks, and years when our schedule doesn't allow them to be first thing in the morning. Getting them as close to first thing in the morning as possible is really helpful, but sometimes it has to be later in the day. So today I'd like to talk about how to harness the power of morning meetings to set up your day and your students for success. Let's dive in. So a morning meeting is a whole class gathering before the day begins, if possible. It's a place and a time to continue to get to know each other, to really bond as a class, to create that sense of community and of a class culture. It's an opportunity for us as teachers to show and model how to care about others. It's not just an instinctual thing. We think, oh, our kids can just learn how to care. They know how to be kind and generous. We'll just tell them be kind. There's always those few students who get it, but most of our students are naturally kind of self-centered and selfish. That's just the nature of children. It's just who they are. We have to show them how to show caring, how to be kind and generous. And this is an opportunity for us to do that as we share things about our lives and about our day and what's going on and our struggles. It's a place for us to model that caring so students can learn how to be caring, kind individuals. It's also a place to practice manners and learn how to speak up in the group. It's a chance for us to model and show this as well and ask our students to use a certain protocol. So we set up very specific guidelines on how we speak to each other in a morning meeting. But it's also a place for children to learn to speak up in a group. So many kids have trouble raising their hand in class, don't they? How often have you asked a question and there's dead silence in your class, or only the same few kids raise their hands? Well, here's a way to help mitigate that. In morning meeting, everyone gets a chance to speak, and everyone must say at least something. You have to decide what it is that they can say. They can say how they're doing that day. That could be as simple as that, but it's a chance for them to break out of that shell and say a couple of words in a group setting, and they can learn that, yes, they survived and it was okay. Whatever you want them to say, you have to set them up, give them a sentence frame for it so that they know how to say it. It could be something as simple as, how was your weekend? My weekend was, and have the students fill in the blank. Or this weekend, we always want to set our students up for success, so by giving them some sort of a sentence frame, that can be helpful. It might be that you want some sort of an answer on a book that you've been reading in class, and you want them to comment on it. How are they liking it? What do they feel about the main character? Whatever it is that you want them to answer, but give them a sentence frame and set them up for success. This also is a place to set the tone for the day. We can set the tone as kindness, gentleness, being loving and caring, getting a chance to get some things out, and really talk about any issues you're having in your class as well and resolving them. It's a great opportunity to do this. Not only that, once you have this format set, it's so easy to draw your class together for an extra class meeting to do some problem solving if you need to, because they understand the format and they understand how the interactions need to go. A morning meeting is also a place to give students an overview of what the day will look like and the kinds of things they might be learning that day. It's a great opportunity to get them involved in that and even have a discussion if you have time. There are 4 essential pieces of a morning meeting. There's the greeting. You greet everyone. You greet the person to your left, greet the person to the right, greet the person directly across from you in the circle. You can greet each other in different languages. Whatever you want to decide to do on any given day, It's not only a little bit of fun, it's a chance for your students to learn how to properly greet people. And you can create that protocol in this morning meeting. The next piece is sharing. Now, I know there's lots of teachers of kindergartners and first graders who will do sharing of whatever things the kids have brought in that day to share, those kinds of things in a morning meeting. I don't typically do that. It makes the morning meeting really long, but for some people, that's an important piece. You'll have to decide if that's important to you or not. I usually reserve a different part of the day for that kind of sharing. In the sharing section, I usually have a few must-do things that students must speak up about. This is their opportunity to learn to speak in the group, to be brave. The first thing is, I have a must-do on how are you feeling today. I want to get a read on my class, and they might just say fine, and that's okay, but their tone gives me a lot of information. Their mannerisms, their expression, all of those kinds of pieces give me a lot of information about how a student is really doing, and then I can always check in later in the day if I feel like they need a boost. For longer answers, you might try using a frame like, today I'm feeling blank because blank. And I usually ask students to say something about themselves. We have a would you rather question, this or that. Sometimes we ask for what is your favorite food, what's your favorite day of the week. We could do something seasonal. There's all kinds of little things that you can do. And so usually I have something else that they can add in. This can be a may do or a must do. It's up to you. Some days I'll tell them you may do this if you want, and some days the extra question might become a must do. It just depends on what it is that we're talking about. I think it's important to remember that getting to know you isn't just for the beginning of the year. We do this all year long. The next must do in this sharing section is, what are you reading? We are readers in my classroom, always, always, always. And I work really hard to set a tone that we are all readers. We are a community of readers in my classroom. This is not a negotiation. This is a must do. Everyone must tell what it is that they're reading every day. And that includes me, as I always have books that I'm reading, so I choose one to share. The next section is the group activity. There's always some sort of a group activity. We might practice math facts. We do an I have, who has. We might be working on our calendar skills. We're working on counting, weather, number sense. Any of those things are appropriate as a group activities in your morning meeting. Next, we do a little bit of bonding. Bonding activities are fun activities that you do that give everybody a giggle, challenge everyone, and give them something to laugh about later in the day. This is an opportunity to bind your class closer together in funny, silly ways and give them some shared memories of something good at the beginning of the day. It could be something like telling a progressive story, lining up in ABC order backwards. It might be a memory game. I'm going on vacation and and each child has to add on and repeat all the things before that. It might be a word game. There's all kinds of things that you can do that are quick and easy and very fun and give us all a giggle. It could be a time to tell jokes. Maybe you have silly jokes and you can have some jokes that you can tell. Maybe students can bring jokes and contribute to a joke jar, and then you can draw them out and say and read a few jokes each morning. Just think about things that would apply for your classroom, for your personality, that would also bring your students in and give you all something to laugh about first thing in the morning. Relax those muscles, relax the brains, and get everybody ready to just do something fun for a minute before you start heading off into the academics. The last thing is that morning message. The morning message sets the tone of hard work, do your best, keeping track, ask for help, have fun with your mistakes and successes. It provides a learning plan for the day. It's any announcements that you have. It could be a vocabulary word challenge of the day. A lot of times I like to add in that vocabulary word that we're working on that day, and kids try and use that word in their speech as much as they can throughout the day. It's a lot of fun. There's lots of little things that you can do. It enhances the learning, but it also sets your day up for success. You're going to set the tone and your expectations for the day. This is also the perfect place to talk about what your students will be learning and any changes there might be in your day. I also have a morning meeting do not list, aka ways to sabotage your success. Do not put in too many items. You are going to overwhelm and then dilute the messages. So really pare it down. I know I have lots of ideas and suggestions that I gave you, but you really need to write them out and then decide how long is this going to be. Because if it gets to be too long, you've lost them, right? We know that in anything that we're teaching. So pare it down to what's most important and plan it out so that you're not overwhelming their students on any given day. You can spread out all of these ideas over a period of time. Also, you must have a focus. You must be planned for a morning meeting. I know it's one more thing to do, but boy, if you can set up your class for success for the whole day, why wouldn't you? Also, you cannot be inconsistent with actually doing your morning meetings or with your format. You need to have a solid format and stick with it. You might be tweaking it for the first week or so, but after that, really try to find the format you're going to stick with. And be consistent with those morning meetings. If you're inconsistent with actually doing your morning meetings, your students aren't going to learn anything from them. I know that sometimes things change and we can't always do things exactly when we plan, but maybe on Tuesdays your schedule changes and morning meeting isn't until an hour after school starts. That's okay if that's every Tuesday or most Tuesdays. Then just do it that way on Tuesdays. And the last piece is don't go on and on and on. You really need to watch your time. Decide how long your morning meeting is going to be and stick with it. You can even have a student who's the timekeeper. Trade that job around. That's a lot of fun and kids love it. Before you begin planning, there's some questions you need to ask yourself. Number 1, what's your purpose or focus for the meeting? Number 2, how long will your meeting be? Number 3, what components will your standard framework include? What are your essentials? Number 4, what will be the changing feature in your meetings? Something always needs to be changing up. So you need to figure out what that feature is going to be. Otherwise, those meetings will get a little stale. Number 5, what will you do when there simply isn't time for a whole meeting? What are the essentials for your day? What items will you pare it down to and say, we're doing fast meeting mode today, and pare it down to that? What is that going to look like? If you have 5 minutes, what's that going to look like? You may want to have an alternate time for your meeting prepared as well, because some days it goes to hell in a handbasket and you just have to readjust everything in your day. And the last item, plan for reevaluating and tweaking. It does take some time to get your format down and get things really moving, but once you do, you're going to be golden. And yes, sometimes even when you've been doing them forever, it's time for a change, right? So always plan for a little bit of reevaluating and tweaking every month. All right, so a quick recap. Set your time, schedule, and format. Plan well. This is really important. Have a rotating feature. Keep it short and focused. Be consistent, and have a plan for those days when the schedule is shot. Picture day, a special guest, assembly, whatever that looks like. And that's it. I have a cheat sheet for you in the show notes. You can find that at www.hopeineducation.com/vault. So that's it, my teacher friends. We're out of time and I'm out of breath. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you liked today's episode, I'd love it if you'd go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and leave a review. While you're there, hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. Also, you can continue the conversation online with me in my Facebook group, the Teach Joyfully podcast community, where elementary teachers can connect, get help, and encouragement for all kinds of education and parenting topics. You can find the show notes and links to all the resources mentioned in today's episode on my website at www.hopeineducation.com/podcast. And remember, a happy teacher is a good teacher. Until next time, teach joyfully and take care of you.